In this short video, I'm going to show you how to do a batch adjustment of raw files and convert them over to JPEG files where we can actually adjust the color and contrast and everything else. So what we're going to do is we're going to launch Adobe Bridge, and we'll go into our folder that we want to make adjustments to. So I've got a folder I just created here with my raw files in it, and what we're going to do is we're going to select all the files from a particular group of pictures that we want to process. In this case, I've got 300 photos that I want to process from this one particular batch. So we select the first image, and we go down and we select the last image. So I can go from up to image number 300. And I just select them all of the images that I want to open. Then I'm going to right click, and I'm going to click on Open in Camera Raw, and this will open those 300 images. It takes a second to load all the images in. Now I can proceed with processing the images. I want to select all the images, so I click on Select All. Here's where I'm able to adjust my exposure. And I can adjust my contrast, my highlights, shadows, for example, and I can play around with the picture and extract what I want. Adjust the black levels, maybe crush down the blacks here. I want to make these clouds look nasty, so I want to bring the black levels down. I can play with the shadows. Again, I want to try and the highlights. Adjust my contrast a little. Maybe my exposure down a little more. Bring up the clarity, vibrance. We can adjust, make all these adjustments. Even desaturate the picture or oversaturate if I want more color. And once I'm happy with how my results are going to be, I then can synchronize. I select all and I can synchronize all of them together. I select all, and I want to save the images. So I go down and I select Save Image. And it's going to ask me where I want to put it. And I'm going to want to save it in the same location, but I want to create a new, well, I can save them in the same location. I like to create a new folder. So I'm just going to click on here and click New Folder, and I'll call it JPEG. And now I can click on the JPEG folder here, select. So now I'm going to save it to my September 6th raw JPEG, and I don't need to change my names of my files. It's just going to do the first 300, so it'll be DSC 0001 to 300. So I'm just going to click Save. And it's going to start. There's 300 images remaining, and it's going to process each of those images. And then once those images are processed, I can then bring those images into Photoshop and create the time lapse. Now, on this particular little project that I'm working on here to show you guys, this is for part 2 of our introduction to time lapse. For this little production, I did 1,200 images. But I also did some video of the same time. So once these images are processed, I just showed you the first 300. I'm going to process all 1,200 images, and then we'll put those together and show you what the time lapse looks like. And I'll even compare it to the stuff that was shot on video. Now, the stuff that was shot on video, I'm not able to do to the same degree of adjustments. The adjustments are all done in camera when shooting on video. So I don't have the same degree of flexibility as I do with the raw images, but we'll put the two of them together just so you see the difference between shooting on video and shooting raw images. So we're back on Adobe Bridge again, and I want to just try do something else a little different here. I want to take that first 300 photos that I took. These are the ones where I really darken them, and I'm going to actually change the color on this. I want to make the clouds look like they're on fire. So I'll take my first 300 shots, and I'll just Shift and click, select my 300 items, and I'm going to now open these up in Camera Raw. And this time I'm going to actually play with the actual color of this sequence. So I'm going to select all, and in this case I can adjust the tint. I want to make the sky kind of go on fire. So we're going to change the temperature here. We can really, by playing with our curve, we can really mess with our colors. And you can make this as ugly or as neat as you like. You see where I'm getting in here, right? I'm just messing with the colors and making this really, really psychedelic. I think I'm happy. I've made my image of the clouds look really psychedelic, and now I want to save these images. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to click Save Images. Now I want to change the name of these because I'm modifying them, so I'll call them Mod, and we'll leave it at Mod. They'll come out as Mod 01, 02, 03, etc. They'll come out still numeric, but I'll call them Mod 0001, .jpg, and they will all number from there. So I'm going to save, and it's going to process 300 images. This will probably take it a few minutes, and then we'll stitch that file together, and we'll show you how everything looks. And this is what you can do with raw files that you can't do easily if you shoot in JPEG. You have full control. I can change every one of these files without having to modify the original file. The original file stays as the original data, so I can render them out as many times as I want with different layers of processing, and then we can take these two layers, we can layer them together, and well, you'll see what comes out when we put the video together. Okay, I finished processing all my pictures. I'm now going to open up Adobe Photoshop, and we're going to load our pictures. What I've done is I've taken my folders and I've placed it into two separate folders. The reason why was because my camera resets at 10,000 pictures. It creates a new folder and starts over at 0001 again. So my first batch of pictures were out of sequence. It doesn't matter, but if I try to bring them all in one folder, it's going to come up and tell me that there's gaps. So I put the last group of 300 pictures in a different folder, and we can actually put those on first for that matter. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to create a new I'll just call it Clouds, and I'm going to go up to Layer, and I'm going to create a new video layer from File. And I just created, I've got a folder here with, I think I've got 900 photos. I got 900 photos in this folder. The first folder was the first group of 300 that I shot, so I'll just drag those ones in first. Just pick the first one and click Open, and it should, because they're an image sequence, they should automatically go in, which they will. Okay, here's my image sequence. They're too large because the images are 20 megapixel pictures, and we're going to scale them down to basically a 4K size image. So to resize the screen, we have to go to Smart Object. So to do that, we Control T. And then we're going to scroll down the scale on the size of the screen. We do that by holding down the Alt key and turning the scroll wheel on the mouse, and that'll bring our canvas size down to and show us our image size. Now I can take my image here, just left click, drag it back, drag my image in. I'm done. Go up to the checkbox and check my checkbox, and that is it. My first layer is done. My first video layer is done. It's a 10-second clip. Now I want to add another layer to this, so I'll go up to layer and I will tell it to make another video layer from a file. So I'll click on there. This time I'm going to go back from new folder. I'm going to go back to the JPEG, which is the one that I put everything else in, and click on the first file and then click open. And that will create another sequence, a second layer, which I can now take that second layer and I can bump it up against the first layer. And we can do the same thing for the second layer. The second layer obviously is also going to be too big, so we have to go and Control T, and that's a transform the file, transform it back down, shrink down the size, say yes, okay. I can now Alt and zoom up my picture, and I can go back at this point. I can look at my files that I've processed, and I've really bumped up the contrast and really pushed the colors up on some of these sequences, some more than others. I'm now ready to render out my 40-second clip, so I can go up and just click File, go down to where it says Export, and Render Video. I'll render out my video clip. It's going to open up, and I'm just going to call it Clouds. It's going to go into my root directory of my H folder, and it's going to use the preset for high quality. There are several different presets that you can select here. I'll take my preset for high quality, 3840 by 2160 at 30 frames per second progressive, and I want to take all frames. So there's actually 1199 frames that it's going to render out, and I just click render, and over the course of the next couple minutes it's going to render out my video, and then I can show you how this looks, this little time lapse looks, and I'll also cut together some time lapse that was done at the same time that this was shot as still images. I shot live video on the 4K video camera, which will also render out those clips following this. Now those ones the color will not be processed on. It is going to be done in Adobe Premiere along with this instructional video,